What's going on, everyone? So welcome to my latest video. This is my latest catch-up video. It is where I talk about all the films that I saw in said month that were, of course, coming out from that year. In the case of this, it is October 2023. All the 2023 movies that I saw in, of course, October. Now, if you do want my full in-depth thoughts on all these movies that I saw, this is not the video for that. You guys can check out my Letterboxd where I do actually have written reviews for all of these movies. I'll put the link down below. This video, I'll just be talking very briefly about these movies and giving you guys my ratings from the beginning of the month all the way to the end of what I saw. So guys, enough exposition. Let's get started. So kicking things off at the beginning of the month, I saw The Exorcist Believer. This was a movie that I was very curious going into, and coming out, I was disappointed because there is potential with this movie, doubling up on the amount of kids that are possessed, doubling up on certain elements for something that on paper could be good, but David Gordon Green, his directing is so sloppy. His editing style is so sloppy. The cinematography, it has some potential, but a lot of times it's a lot of shaky camera work up close, just really doesn't work. And I do think that overall, the ending also had so much potential to give you, as viewers, a lot of moral conundrums to deal with. But unfortunately, it doesn't. It's a very, very safe movie. I was disappointed by it, and pretty much all the elements that I liked of the original The Exorcist aren't to be found in this movie. Again, it's one of those things where I'm watching this movie and I see that there is potential, but not for this director, unfortunately. So I don't know if the second and third entry for this trilogy will be good. I don't know. But as a first entry, it's not good. And as a sequel to The Exorcist, yeah, no. The Exorcist Believer, I personally will be giving a... And next up, we have The Meg 2, The Trench. So I missed seeing this in theaters. I watched this on HBO's Max, now Max. And yeah, I didn't like this movie. I actually really didn't like this movie. The ending is easily one of the worst I've seen of the year. The visual effects definitely are good at times, but that's really all I got. I really didn't like this movie, and yeah, not really much more to talk about. So yeah, The Meg 2, The Trench. I'm glad I saw it at home, and yeah, I'll personally be giving it a... Next up, we have The Little Mermaid. So, I actually hadn't seen the original Little Mermaid up until, well, this month. That's one of the main reasons why I decided to not see the Little Mermaid remake, because I wanted to first see the original. And I watched the original with my wife, and I really liked it. I thought it was quite good. And the next day, I watched this reimagination. And I gotta say, being an hour longer just really showcases that original, what's special about it is that it knew how to have pacing. It knew to, utilize its time very well, to have, a length that isn't losing its welcome, so to speak. There's a lot of magic in the original. Like, just watching it, you can see the craft, you can see the love for the material. But this reimagination, I just didn't feel that. I liked some of the visual effects. I liked some of the performances, but overall, everything just didn't come together. I felt like it was very middle of the road. I can see why some people might like this. I can. But for me, I just was like, it's whatever. It's similar to a lot of Disney reimaginations, of live action versions. It just has no soul, unfortunately. I did like the lead performance for sure, but other than that, I don't really have much more to say. The Little Mermaid 2023, I'll personally be giving a... And next up, this was a huge surprise because I didn't even have this movie on my radar, and that is Fair Play. Fair Play was excellent. I loved this film. I probably wouldn't have heard about this film if it wasn't for having a Twitter account, because scrolling through my feed and I saw that someone recommended this movie and they said that it deals with a lot of interesting gender roles. And I read the premise real quick and I was like, this does sound really intriguing. And what's amazing about this film isn't just that it's got a good premise, it's that the execution of it is even better. And the performances are great. I love the directing. I love the score, the cinematography, the ending. It all comes together. I can see this film might not necessarily working for all viewers, especially because in my opinion, it is very morally complex. There's a lot of gray area to this film that I think is what makes a lot of films interesting. But here's the thing that I think what works even more so about this film is that it's not even just the filmmaking and everything. It's that the acting, the performances, the two lead performances are so good. I am saddened that this film was released directly to Netflix because watching it at home, I just couldn't help but think to myself, this is a film that would have played so greatly in theaters. So I wish that, I don't know, Fox Searchlight or just another company took this so that way it would be released in theaters. But as it stands, I still really like Fair Play. I think it's a great film. Highly recommend it, especially to adventurous film goers. And that's why, for me, Fair Play, I'll personally be giving a... And next up, we have Ballerina, 2023. I say 2023 because there's a John Wick spinoff, Ballerina, coming out in 2024, I believe. But this is, I think it's a South Korean film. I heard about it very briefly on Letterboxd. Like, I saw certain users that I follow talking about this movie, like, how it's an action film with a female lead, and that it is kind of like Kill Bill. And whilst I definitely understand that comparison, I think that this movie, unfortunately, is very middle of the road. I think that there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of things that are intriguing for sure. I do like the lead performance. I do like some of the style, but I just felt like the actual execution left so much to be desired. That being said, despite feeling mixed about the movie, I would still say give this a shot because who knows, you might dig it. But I would also say go into this not really expecting that much action. It's more about the mood, the atmosphere, which for some films can work quite a bit. This film just didn't really necessarily work for me. But again, I can respect and understand why some people might like this. But for me, I felt kind of mixed about it. That's why for me, Ballerina, I'll be giving a... And next up, we have Dix, the musical. So this is A24's first musical that they produced. And this is a fun old time, or as in my review I said, it's a gay old time. That's literally driving home from the theater. That's immediately what came into my head, where I was just thinking about the Flintstones theme song from the 60s and how at the end they say it's a gay old time. And that's literally my thoughts on Dix the musical. It's a gay old time. It's a lot of fun, but it just doesn't really have any emotional impact. There's no lasting effect. Like, this is a film I can see a couple months from now if someone says, "Oh, hey, Dix the musical, how was it?" I'd say, yeah, it's fun, but nothing more. I do have issues with it for sure. Like, it does fall into a lot of comedy tropes, unfortunately, and I do think that it unfortunately loses its welcome by the end. There are some swings for the fence towards the end that on paper I appreciate, but the last 10 minutes, I just felt like it just wasn't that necessary. It just didn't necessarily work for me, unfortunately. But again, on paper, it's something that I would think that for my liking would work. But if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. But as it stands, again, I had fun with this movie. I don't really have much more to say. But Dix, the musical, I'll personally be giving a... And next up, we have one of the most anticipated films of 2023 for myself, and that is Killers of the Flower Moon. So this is the latest Martin Scorsese film, and it is great. I really dug this film. I think that the 3.5-hour runtime, pretty much, is warranted. I think that it's a sprawling epic that is very focused. The mood, the tone, the cinematography, the score, production design, everything comes together. I also think this is one of Robert De Niro's best performances. Lily Gladstone is also great. DiCaprio is great. I think that this is a film that will have a lasting impact for myself. I know that the ending, it's a swing for the fences, but it's not in like a Dix the musical kind of swing for the fences. It's more of like it's a Scorsese auteur swing for the fences, where it's like there is a lot to process, and I think that it works really well. This film might not necessarily be for everyone, in that a lot of people will look at the length and they'll say, "Oh no, like I don't want to watch it." And I say to them, give it a shot. I think that it is dealing with a lot of themes, a lot of messages, and a lot of history that is important to really delve into. And I think that Scorsese did a really good job at making it quite engaging. I think it's very much so worth your time. That's why for me, Killers of the Flower Moon, I'll personally be giving a... Next up, we have one of the worst movies of the year. We have Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So I remember when this came in theaters and scrolling on the AMC app, I saw the title and everything, and I looked at the premise, and I was like, this looks like it could be good. And I was like, I'm going to watch it. But I saw it was excluded from A-list, and I was like, well, I'm not going to spend almost $20 to watch this, so I'll just wait until it's on like streaming or physical media. And then I was scrolling through Peacock earlier this month, and I saw that it was, of course, streaming. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to watch it. And so I did. And the premise is interesting, but the actual execution is so sloppy. This is a really, really bad movie in terms of the filmmaking. It just doesn't really do much with the premise at all. And just, frankly, the ending is just like, oh gosh, you gotta be kidding me. And apparently they're making sequels. So I don't know. I can't really see anybody really liking this movie, at least that I know. But I'm sure there are people out there. I mean, who knows? This might have a cult status similar to like Sharknado. But as it stands, it's one of the worst movies of 2023 for myself. And that's why I'll personally be giving a... Next up, we have Old Dads. So, Old Dads, I think I was scrolling on Twitter, or maybe it was Netflix. I forget which it was. But I saw that there was a movie starring Bill Burr, and that it was also his directorial debut. Bill Burr is someone that I do have a lot of respect for. I think that as a comedian, he definitely is hit or miss at times, but he is still someone that I enjoy listening to, even if I don't necessarily always agree with his points and everything. But again, him as an actor, him as a comedian is something that always intrigues me. And I will say that, again, I like that he brings discussion to the table with a lot of things. Again, even if I don't necessarily agree with everything that he said, but such is life. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that him being attached to this movie, him directing this movie is why I watched Old Dads. And unfortunately, this is definitely like a... this is definitely like a boomer movie. Like, oh, back in my day, it was like this, and this is the good old days. And it's very out of touch. It's a movie of the week. That's pretty much my thoughts on Old Dads. It has some chuckles for sure, but there really isn't anything that stands out in this movie other than, oh, back in my day. Yeah, that's it. Boomer, the movie. It should have been called Boomer Dads. But anyways, yeah, I was disappointed by Old Dads, and that's why for me, I'll personally be giving a... Speaking of disappointment, we have next up, Haunted Mansion. So this was a movie that originally I was going to see in theaters with my wife, and we decided to just wait until Disney Plus, and I'm honestly kind of glad because it worked out, because again, it's a horror film, so we watched it in October, and I'm so glad that we waited, not only just because of that, but also because the movie just wasn't good, and I think that watching it in a theater would have made it more excruciating. I think the premise is intriguing, but the actual execution is very sloppy. It's tonally inconsistent. You somehow have all these great actors, but they are wasted on humor and writing that is, in my opinion, really bad. I'll put it to you this way. If you liked the Ghostbusters 2016, if you liked Snatched, then you'll like this movie probably. But if you did not like those movies, and those movies made your worst of said year that those came out, then you're not going to like this movie. And that's kind of what I came into the reality of watching it. About halfway into the movie, paused it, and I looked up the writer because I was curious, and when I saw that it was the writer who did those movies, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Because all these actors are comedic in other movies. We've seen that they do work quite well in other movies. But here, all these actors are trying their best, but they just aren't funny. The humor just didn't work. The CGI, I thought, was very much so unengaging at times, as was the filmmaking in general. The digital cinematography in particular just really didn't work well for me. Overall, I was very disappointed by this movie, and I will say, taking it a step further, I really didn't like this movie. And it's a shame because I thought that this would be one of those remakes where it's like it's better than the original. And I gotta say, I don't know if that's the case. I think that they are on the same level relatively, but I will say that I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I would take the original over this. Yeah, I hate saying that. But yeah, Haunted Mansion, I'll personally be giving a. And next up, we have another disappointment. We have Five Nights at Freddy's. So yeah, this one I really didn't like. And similar to Haunted Mansion, I was actually going to see this in theaters, but when I saw that it was streaming on Peacock at the same time, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I decided to just wait and see it on Peacock, which for many of you guys out there, you probably know that I am a huge advocate for the theater experience, but Five Nights at Freddy's, I just didn't really think it looks that interesting. I was hoping to be wrong, especially since I never played the game. But watching it, man, this was a bad movie. I really did not like it. I have very few positives with this movie. Honestly, it felt longer than it actually was. And yeah, I mean, I can see why it might work for some. I am curious in the comment section if you play Five Nights at Freddy's and you saw the movie. Is it similar to the game? Is the game better? Is it worse? Like, I'm very curious. But as it stands, Five Nights at Freddy's, I really didn't like, and that's why for me, I'll personally be giving a. And next up, we have my most anticipated film of 2022 and 2023. That is David Fincher's The Killer. The reason why I made both lists was because I originally thought The Killer was supposed to be coming out in 2022, but as it turns out, it was actually coming out in 2023. So yeah, that's why I made my number one slot for both years. But yeah, I was pumped out of my mind for this film, and it lived up to my expectations. I thought it was absolutely great. Stupendous filmmaking, entertainment value, rewatchability value. I can definitely see myself rewatching this. I do have a full in-depth, well, not in-depth, but I do have a review video form actually on my YouTube channel, so you guys can check that out for my more in-depth thoughts. And then also, of course, my Letterboxd review. But yeah, I loved The Killer. It is one of my favorite films of 2023 so far. And that's why I personally will be giving it a. Hey guys, those are the 2023 films that I saw in October 2023. Let me know which 2023 films you saw this month. Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, guys, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, follow me down on Letterboxd, and I will catch you guys later.